What up? What up? Welcome to Ship Chasing Live. It feels like it's been a long time since we've done a regular non-draft episode on a Wednesday night, probably 3 weeks now. I'm joined
I think so.
by my co-host, Mr. Pat Crane. How we doing?
Doing good. I'm excited for this one. This will be a fun episode. As you mentioned, we are not doing a draft this episode, but we do have more of that stuff to come. So this is like kind of a little break before we get back into the draft madness.
That's right. Yeah, one little break here. So we'll give you a rundown of the show tonight. I know everyone wants us to do the drawing. We are going to do that at the end of the episode. I apologize. I know everyone wants it. Don't worry. It will be worth the wait. We will do the drawing. We had over 40 plus submissions. I have them here in the randomizer wheel just to show you guys that these are your names all right here. We will be drawing 11 names to join us at the end of the episode. And until then, Pat and I want to talk. We're going to talk some running back ADPs. Lots of interesting movement going on lately. We're going to talk about Pat's tight end research. He's been doing some articles on ETR targeting tight ends. And we're going to prep for our KFFSC main event draft, which is taking place on Saturday night. We are going to kick off that live stream. The draft is around 8 p.m. and we will be drafting that live here on our YouTube. So that is the rundown for the show. Yes, I know everyone's so mad that we're not doing it at the top of the show, but this is how we string you along. We're pros, Pat.
Well, I'll also say it gives some more time. I think we just had a comment here from Josh saying that he wanted, he's upset we're not doing it right away, but he is one of the few people that I saw on Twitter that had offered to do a co-managing arrangement. And I think that's a pretty sharp move because we're only drawing 11 listeners for this league. That I believe are 43 entrants. So you guys want to pair up, you have about another hour to do so. And we can we can get more of you in with just 11 teams.
Yeah. So that is a thing. If any of you in the chat right now want to talk to yourselves, increase your odds, feel free to toss that out there, and you will literally double your odds. We lost Pat. We already lost Pat. This is the show that I always wanted, a high stakes pod without the weight of an egregious Rojo truther. Oh, he's back. He's back. Okay.
The Rojo in such a short period.
Well, I started talking about how this was the show I always wanted without the weight of a egregious Rojo truther. Okay, let's talk about some of these running back ADPs. There's been a few that are very interesting to me over the past few weeks. I have pulled them up here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, of course, with the Damian Williams news, also as that pertains to DeAndre Washington. We have the shakeup in the Washington backfield without Geis, now with Adrian Peterson and Antonio Gibson on the rise. And of course, Pat made me put in Ronald Jones in this graph. I have no idea why you made me put that in.
Because his ADP's spiking. It's getting expensive.
Yeah. So first of all, let's talk about Antonio Gibson. He's been a 0 RB target. We drafted him last week in our Football Guys draft with Davis. He's been a target for us. And now he's gone mainstream, Pat. He's no longer the cool, unearthed indie band. He is now the hottest commodity in fantasy football.
Is he though? I mean, the thing with Gibson that's kind of interesting is that like his Twitter presence has gotten a lot higher. But if you look at his ADP, he was going right in May in FFPC drafts in that like pick 90 to 100 range. And then it has since spiked to where he's consistently going in that range. He was a little bit more all over the place back in May, but you would find him in that range. But it has not really increased above that. So, I've been seeing him in the 10th round in some of these drafts, best ball drafts that I've been doing. I don't think yet you're seeing him like really, really spike. I mean, he certainly hasn't replaced Geis at his ADP.
Yeah, I guess there is a bit of a disconnect here. So his ADP was down here, it looks like around 120, and he's now probably up in like the 95 range. So he's jumped probably 2.5 rounds of ADP, if I am eyeballing this correctly, over the past few days. Where is your line that you wouldn't take him anymore? And you could do it by like a group of other zero running back candidates. We're not taking him over Zach Moss.
No, I still like him in kind of that 9-10 round area, around where I liked him before. But that he's still available there. So I haven't had to really like force myself to think about taking him in the 8th round. But I like Zach Moss a lot more than ADP. So he's a difficult one because Zach Moss, I love where you can get him. I still really like where you can get Boston Scott. And so that makes it harder to get Antonio Gibson, even at his current ADP. Like, I'm not smashing him at his current ADP because I really like Moss and I really like Scott. But if I was just like recreating all of these guys' ADP, I would put like Moss, I think, is like a late 7th to mid 8th round value. I think Gibson is like probably an 8th round value. I think Scott's like an 8th round value as well. I'm not very nervous at this point that the Eagles signed Devonta Freeman, and I think Scott's got a ton of upside in that offense. So, that's kind of where I'm at on Gibson. Where are you at?
Yeah, I think to me, he's in that Boston Scott range still for me. And I think he's still part of your zero running back draft plans in that 9, 10, 11 range. If he creeps up into that range where we saw Darwin Thompson and Justice Hill end up last year in the 7th and 8th, I'm probably out on him there, but I'm out on basically any zero RB target from the mid range that ends up there. So, people in the chat are talking about him being drafted very aggressively. SJ889 says went and picked 79. So if that's any indication of what's to come, I'm probably going to be out on him. But based on this initial movement, I think the price is still palatable. One guy. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just looking at Fantasy Mojo's ADP and the Football Guys drafts. This is over the last 4 days, and he has its ADP at 803. So, kind of creeping up into that Darwin Thompson range, and he's gone as high as 611. But he's also gone as late as 1004. So that kind of fits with what I was saying, where I do think he's still dropping a lot lower at times. I would also I would push back a little bit against like comparisons to Darwin Thompson.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to push back against Boston Scott. I was like,
No, I think that's fair. But I think, Gibson does profile as a guy who could raise his ADP on hype alone, but that's not what happened. There was a huge opportunity that opened up within the offense, and that's what's driving this spike. So if Gibson jumps up further than this, which I think he probably will, then that's when I'll maybe consider being out. But I think now might actually be a time to buy on Gibson, because I don't think that people are going to get less excited about the prospect of a super athletic, pretty big running back all of a sudden potentially being the lead back in this offense.
Yeah, and to me, I have zero concerns about Adrian Peterson and Peyton Barber. I do think they are going to get a little bit of work, but what you're getting excited about with Antonio Gibson isn't, early down bruising between the tackles carries. You're getting excited about the pass work. You're getting excited about him getting used in space in dynamic and creative ways. And that hasn't really changed. We've just freed up a few extra touches a game for him, which, a few extra touches a game meaningfully impacts projections. And we
especially
also
if they're receptions.
Seriously, yeah. Couple extra receptions a game is huge, raises his floor, raises his ceiling. I did want to mention Bryce Love here before we move on from the Washington backfield. Sean Siegel wrote up an article about him. It's about as cheeky as you will see Sean Siegel get in an article. He goes, I would be buying Bryce Love everywhere, but I already have him everywhere. But it was the extent of his title. He had some interesting comps to Chris Johnson, some of these other speed guys. He even was invoking Jamal Charles as far as how productive he was in college, and his speed obviously has the injury concerns, but I think Bryce Love is now firmly on the radar of a guy you're taking at the end of your drafts if you can get him.
Yeah, Bryce Love and Adrian Peterson's ADP have basically been mirrored since this Geis news, but Peterson's been the guy, it looks like, being drafted a little bit higher. And I mean, I don't get it. Like, don't you want the upside? Like, Love is probably, I mean, you could just end up throwing him away. And I get that Peterson's actually had some like weirdly big weeks in important playoff weeks. I think he was a big best ball winner last year, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, Love is a dude who, as Sean points out, I mean, he was incredibly productive in college, then unfortunately returned and had this down year. But he was, if he had come out off of his insane production, then I think, you could be talking about a guy who's like a late first round, early second round pick in the NFL.
Yeah, and I'll just say this right now. I just do not understand how anyone is getting excited about drafting Adrian Peterson or Peyton Barber. I get why those guys could be roadblocks for Antonio Gibson or any of these guys really emerging as a workhorse. I don't think any of us have, illusions about that. But I mean, Adrian Peterson, Peyton Barber couldn't even beat out one Mr. Ronald Jones last year in the Tampa Bay backfield. I don't know how him and Adrian Peterson really have any kind of fantasy impact. They're not going to catch passes. They're going to split carries. They're going to be in a lot of negative game scripts. I do not see the appeal of drafting either of those guys. Am I crazy? I can't imagine ever pressing the button on them. Not
at all. You're not crazy at all. I think in a super deep league, if you want to get past Bryce Love, then the dude would be, if you're interested in Chris Thompson, you might be interested in J.D. McKissick as well. I think he's a guy that could end up being the pass catcher there. Like if there's someone who kind of torches Gibson's value this year, it might be McKissick, because McKissick is a really kind of uninteresting satellite back who's not going to produce a bunch of big plays, but he could be pretty consistent. And he could be a reliable piece on a Washington team that doesn't really have many reliable pieces. So he's actually the dude I'm a little bit concerned about as someone who does have a fair amount of Gibson. And you'd have to be in like an FFPC 28 round best ball league before he becomes even a name. But I would say don't completely write him off as having a little bit of PPR upside.
Yeah. And one other guy that I threw in here, let's move on to the Chiefs backfield. I think DeAndre Washington, based on the drafts I've been doing lately, and this includes FFPC, it includes underdog best ball drafts. I think DeAndre Washington is, I don't want to say criminally undervalued right now, but I think by about 2 to 3 rounds, he is going too late in drafts. He's going around pick 150. That's just around the 12th, 13th round. To me, he is a premium zero running back target that should be going in the Gibson, Boston Scott range in the 9th and 10th round. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No, the earliest he's gone, according to Mojo's ADP, is 10:05. The latest he's gone in the last 4 days, and these are Football Guys Players Championships League, is 15:02, which is just ridiculous. Like, I feel like everyone must have forgot about him. So, yeah, I mean, his ADP is 12:01 there. I think that's a really nice value. When we were in our main event, once you get to the 12th round, you're really looking just at Darrington Evans. You're pretty much through the Boston Scott, through the Antonio Gibson at that time tier. Like you're really thinned out on your zero running back targets. Even guys like AJ Dillon might be gone. So I think DeAndre Washington is one of the premier targets right now in the 11th round. It looks like you can be pretty confident about getting him right now in the 11th round in FFPC. And I think he's probably fine in the 10th. I would rather have him than Duke Johnson. Certainly rather have him than Sony Michel, who's both these guys going ahead of him. They're going into the early to mid 11th. I'd rather have him than Chase Edmonds. So yeah. I think pretty easily you can see him jumping up a full round. And, I think at this point I would just be taking him in the 11th to make sure I get him.
Yeah. And I think what gets me really excited about DeAndre Washington is he has so many outs to hit. We already have a report that him and Clyde Edwards-Helaire could be splitting the work in the first month of the season, just as they get caught up to speed. You know, DeAndre Washington is a veteran who, as Burnzone points out, has shared a bar of soap with Mahomes, the shower narrative. But so just the fact that he's going to have a role right away. They are not giving Clyde Edwards-Helaire 30 touches out of the gate. Sorry, guys, it's not happening. And on top of that, he has the contingency value and the best offense in the league. And he also has a skill set that allows him to both catch passes and be a goal line back if needed. He's not, someone that profiles as, being pigeonholed into one of these roles. So to me, the sky's the limit with DeAndre Washington. I know he's an older, less sexier name on paper, but in the context of this offense, in his ADP, I don't know if there's a sexier zero RB candidate right now than DeAndre Washington.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's not even that old. He's only 27, and he was pretty good last year. And he's the type of dude. He's a smaller back, but he can, I think, carry the load, especially the way the Chiefs ask their running backs to carry the load. They're not really ever asking anybody to be like a total workhorse guy. The value in that backfield comes because they score a ton of touchdowns, and they also throw to their running backs a lot. So he fits, I think, both of those to where he could be used on the goal line just fine, and he would be primarily a weapon as a receiver. I like Edwards-Helaire. I think, he is someone that I'm pretty comfortable with now in like the mid to late first. But I think in addition to the contingent value, you also have the potential that Edwards-Helaire is a bust. I mean, he's not a perfect running back prospect. I think there is a lot to like about him, particularly as a receiver, but, some of these running backs just don't end up panning out. We don't know if he's any good. And so I think just that alone, creates some additional ambiguity, which we want to take advantage of when targeting these zero running back targets.
Yeah. Actually, this is another hot name of late. Thoughts on Damian Harris? There's talk that Sony Michel might not be ready for a long time right now. That backfield has always been a bit of a riddle. Damian Harris is now kind of the guy that people are starting to get excited about after having a truly forgettable season last year. Where are you at on Damian Harris?
My thing with Harris, when I was looking into him, when I was writing up my zero running back targets, I thought I might be pretty interested in him, but I think that he struck me more as someone that I'd like to see in that James White role. And I'm not that excited about him trying to take full control over the Sony Michel role. I think Burkhead would be used there, and they just signed Lamar Miller. So I think I have a hard time seeing that 2-down role taking a ton of value, taking on a ton of value. I can see the pass catcher in that offense being pretty valuable, but, White is pretty entrenched there. Obviously, and Harris did not do anything last year to break into that White role. I mean, he literally was not used last year. So I'm not really that interested in Harris. I think it's been a bad week for Harris with Miller signing there. So who knows what Miller has left, but it's certainly not a great sign for what they're considering in Harris.
Yeah, I agree. When you have what is going to ultimately be 2, 3, maybe 4 guys splitting the 2-down work on the Pats, and an offense that isn't going to score as many touchdowns as they have in previous years, that's just not an exciting thing for me. And I know it's a trope to say take the cheapest Patriots running back, but again, I don't think you touch any of the expensive ones. I think if you want to take flyers on Burkhead or Lamar Miller late in drafts, go for it. I think there's definitely some paths to those guys wrestling away a larger share of that 2-down work, but I'm not going to touch any of the guys in the 8th through 12th round, whether that's White or Harris or Sony Michel. Okay, one more guy. I can't believe we're doing this. You made me put Ronald Jones in here. What do you want to say about Ronald Jones, Pat?
Well, you took a shot at him earlier with your Peyton Barber comment. I thought you were doing a segue. It turns out you just wanted to insult my guy. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, look at this spike here. If you take everyone else off, you can really see. Well, no, you've got the time
Sorry, I was going to for a close. What window do you want to see Rojo's meteoric rise, Pat? What date do you want?
Take it as far back as it'll go, man.
Take it as far back as it'll go. This is sick. Back to January 20th. What a simpler time.
Look at that. Look at that rise. So now he's going in the he's it's at times going in like the early 5th, late 4th. And anyway, I've just been sniped on him a bunch, and it's been pretty tough to see his ADP rise so considerably. And I just this hype train is just out of control. I'm really annoyed by people just talking him up all the time.
Someone do a Photoshop over this ADP grid with the eggplant emoji, just kind of bending its trajectory up there. There you go. All right. This is far too much time to talk about Ronald Jones right now. Let's talk some tight ends. Mr. Karain has been deep in the research lab, writing about tight end target profiles. I'll admit, I read this article and I got teased. I got the tease. I was like, okay, now tell me who are the players, which are the tight ends to draft. And I'm like, this is just all numbers. This is just all analytical bullshit. I mean, talk about a stringing along tease job.
Yeah, no, that's true. I didn't actually give away any of the tight ends here, but those are coming. I'm working on it. I've been writing them up this week. Should have that out at the end of the week. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. If I'm going to split it into, right now I'm thinking I'm going to do targets and fades in kind of the first maybe 8 rounds, and then targets and fades for the rest of the draft is kind of how I'm thinking. But yeah, man, this has been fun because I went back and I looked at the elite tight end season since 2006. And by elite, I quantified that as 200 plus tight end premium points, and just kind of looked first to see what those elite tight ends had in common. And then I was also looking at the whole tight end pool as a whole. And the numbers that I was using to see if I could find any patterns were PFF's yards per route run, but I was breaking that out into yards per target and targets per route run. So that's what yards per route run is. It's just how many yards you had per target and also how many targets you were getting per route run. So it's sort of 2 metrics in one. Typically, and this my wheels were turning from talking with Ben Gretsch. We were DMing about this, and then he had a really good Twitter thread about it. But basically, yards per target is not sticky. Yards per target bounces all over the place. It's an efficiency metric. Most efficiency metrics are not sticky, but targets per route run is pretty sticky. And when you look at yards per route run and you see that a lot of the same guys end up repeating year over year, a lot of that is really because of their targets per route run. So kind of how big of a part of the offense they are when they're on the field. But what's interesting at tight end is that it does seem like the efficiency matters to a degree. But also this targets per route run is really important too. So I was looking at the elite tight ends since 2006 and figuring out what kind of targets per route run we want to see, what kind of yards per target we want to see, and weighting that a little bit based on what that tight end had done. So guys like Rob Gronkowski, we might, when he's kind of rolling in his prime right now, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, we might be looking for a little bit less out of them, because what are we actually trying to figure out when we're targeting these tight ends? We want them to be a big part of their offense, and we want them to actually be good, right? The more important thing is that they're going to be a big part of their offense. I think the reason to pay attention to efficiency is because coaches are going to pay attention to efficiency. They're going to decide whether they think this guy deserves to be a big part of their offense, and it can help us identify role changes in the following year, particularly in young players. So looking at like guys like Kittle and Kelce, you want to see that role, you want to see that efficiency, but it might not be as important. When you're looking at the young guys, when you're looking at the guys who've never done it, then you actually want to have a little bit of a higher threshold. You want to look at guys who had an even bigger part of their offense when they were on the field. So when they were running those routes, they were getting targeted at an even higher rate, and they were even a little bit more efficient than those studs, because they're basically making a case to their team, you need to involve me in a much bigger way next year. So that's kind of the research that I was doing. Some guys have really started to emerge. And yeah, I'll stop talking because I've gone on for a while now.
No, you got to, okay, but you got to give us one hint. I mean, we can talk about some of the guys that we've drafted we, of course, in our main event, we drafted Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson. You know, one of the things we've been debating this whole offseason is that kind of breakout tier of tight end. You know, the names have been Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson, Mike Gesicki, Dallas Goedert. Has anything, you know, started to shift for you and how you view that cohort of guys that could make the leap? Whereas I think almost all of us agree they have the physical tools to succeed. But how does their kind of efficiency and path to targets look in the context of this research?
Hawkinson really jumps out. He's the guy that I think just looks like the clear-cut target among that breakout group. And of course, he is the guy that we did take in our main event. But the reason I say that is because he was involved in a very big way in the Lions offense for his entire season. He had a targets per route run that was well above what we want to see for a rookie, like way above. And he was unfortunately not nearly as efficient as we want to see over the entire season, but he was quite efficient with Matthew Stafford. So his efficiency totally cratered once Stafford was injured. To me, I'm willing to overlook that. I don't think that the coaches will really hold that against him in a major way. The offense as a whole struggled without Stafford. Obviously, Stafford returning now. It's nice that he had a good connection with Stafford, both in getting targeted a lot and was efficient with Stafford. So looking at him, and also one of the things that jumped out when you're looking at these younger players is that you do want to target guys who had a lot of receiving yardage market share in college in their final year. And Hawkinson had an awesome market share of yards in his final year, and he did that while sharing the field with Noah Fant, another first-round pick. So he just looks like, he's the 8th pick in the draft. He's an awesome prospect. And he had, I think, a very sneaky, awesome rookie year, like better than you would think just by looking at first glance, because some of that efficiency was actually hidden after the Stafford injury. So I'm making a bet that he's the player we saw with Stafford, and that's who we can expect him to be this year with Stafford. And he's the dude that really jumps out for me. I think Fant also looks solid within that breakout range, but he was a little disappointed to see how much he was used in terms of the targets he was getting. And obviously his targets are what we're concerned about this season. He was wildly efficient, which was nice, but he has a little bit of a ways to go in terms of the targets, and his targets per route run actually dropped under lock. So it's almost the reverse case with the Stafford and Hawkinson, where Fant was seeing a higher rate of targets on his routes with Flacco than he ended up seeing with Locke, which is a concern. And now they've added Judy, they've added Hamler, so some concern there. And then I'll also say one of the other things that was really cool was that somehow last year, since 2006, the top 3 finishers in targets per route run were all tight ends from last year. Do you have any guesses on who those might be?
Hang on, say that. I guess I don't want the top
3 finishers in targets per route run. So these are getting targeted on their routes at the highest rate. So dudes who may not run the most routes, but are getting targeted a ton on their routes.
Yeah. Interesting. I kind of want to say, was Jared Cook one?
Jared Cook was not.
Okay. I assume Hawkinson was one of them.
No, the top guy is George Kittle.
Okay.
He's the elite dude. Mark Andrews had the best. I say top guy is meaning the top scorer, but Mark Andrews had the best targets per route run in the database. Just like blew it out of the water. And this goes back to 2006. So Mark Andrews jumps out as like just this total smash, because he had Hayden Hurst taking snaps away from him. So he wasn't on the field at all times. And Hayden Hurst was sometimes running routes, out of the slot instead of Andrews. So you have a situation where Andrews could be seeing a lot more routes just because of personnel changes, not even just because of how good he was last year. And he was really good last year. So you would expect the team to want to get this guy more involved. And now they almost have to get him more involved. So he really jumps out as a total smash. Are you happy that my research just confirms the guys we already took on our main?
Yeah, I mean, Mark Andrews is a guy I'm so overexposed to, but it's nice to hear we're on the right track. He had the report the other day, said he had never thought about opting out this season. We did have a little scare earlier in the offseason after we drafted him, but it seems like all systems go. And Mark Andrews, he is, he's set up from a target share perspective like a George Kittle to be the alpha target hog in one of the best offenses in football, and that's pretty damn exciting.
It's really exciting. And then the last guy I mentioned, there's 3 dudes who all finished as the top 3 guys since 2006 in targets per route run. The third dude is Tyler Higbee.
Oh man, that's hard for me to hear.
Yeah, Tyler Higbee, I think, profiles as a dude that could very much continue what we saw last year, and I think in some ways looks more likely to repeat than Darren Waller. So I don't, I think especially with the discount that you get on Higbee compared to Waller, who Waller actually shows up, he shows nicely in these metrics as well, actually. He does not show up as a fade. He shows up as a target. But Higbee just absolutely smashed in targets per route run. And I think that shows you that when he was given a chance, he was just crushing it. And I think I actually undercuts some of the narrative about how he was only effective in that last stretch. Like, he was quietly having a really, really strong season, and then he continued having a strong season, just not so quietly.
The chat is just repulsed by this.
Hey guys,
it's tough to stomach. I will say one thing that is nice about this and these targets is from a structural drafting perspective, there's very good tight ends at different price points, depending on how you attack your draft. Whether you're going in round 1 in FFPC and grabbing George Kittle, or you're getting Mark Andrews at the 2-3 turn. If you're getting Higbee, in whatever the 7th and 8th, Hawkinson 8th and 9th, there are places where you can get and target these guys. And it feels like a loaded tight end class this year. There's lots of different viable guys.
It does. I think there's a lot of really interesting names. There's some guys that are tougher. I think Austin Hooper is probably a landmine.
I have no Hayden Hurst either as a guy I have no interest in.
Yeah, Hayden Hurst is a little bit more interesting to me than Hooper, although his ADP is all over the place. But he was actually like pretty decent last year. For a second-year player, he had a decent targets per route run, and he was actually efficient last year. More efficient on his targets than Andrews, but obviously, not nearly as a big a part of the offense. But with him changing teams, I think it's a concern. He's not someone that I am really that strongly targeting, given the lack of an offseason. But he did show up as a target based on these numbers, which surprised me.
Yeah, and I think, the thing that transpired last year with the Falcons is Calvin Ridley never was able to fully wrestle away that number 2 target hog role on that team. Whereas I think most people, based on ADP, based on advanced metrics, expect Calvin Ridley to really ascend and cement himself as the number 2 in that offense. Hayden Hurst changing teams as the 3rd target in that offense. I think his production could be a little bit all over the map, and he's not going to be able to maintain that high floor that Hooper was able to last year.
Yeah, that's probably right.
All right. So Pat and I are drafting Saturday night in the KFFSC main event. Our pal Davis Maddock ended up joining the league. I think he was so tilted from having to draft with us drunkenly on Wednesday that he's like, I'm going to get in this league and really stick it to these guys after that experience.
I think that's right. Yeah. But he also said he wanted to do another draft with us, which I guess we might be talking about coming up here. But we're drafting against Davis now on Saturday.
Did you notice, so I had put together some of the clips from the that draft night, and I couldn't help but notice that Davis was far less amused by the whole situation than you and me were, because in the moment I thought we were all having a grand old time, and then I watch it back and I'm like, Davis isn't having as much fun as we are.
He was not. I was noticing that because, I'm pretty proud of the way you handle that, Pete. You said you were going to take a shot of tequila every time he took one, and you took a shot of tequila. I was taking some long sips on my mezcal. I wasn't crushing whole shots, so I was maybe a little bit more perceptive in the moment of Davis's feelings. But yeah, he was talking about like who we should take and who was on the board, and we're just like, no, Davis, wait, we need to see what X does.
Yeah. And Chris did ask, so I drank that entire jug of Poland spring water still on air after ripping those shots, and I had 2 margaritas to start the stream. So like I was gone. I had a big snack and I popped some Advil. No headache, no hangover. Here's where I paid. I think I peed 7 or 8 times during the night. I was up every hour peeing. So I had no hangover, but I got very little good sleep. So pick your poison.
Yeah. Well, I got a chance this past weekend. I hung out with John Daigle.
Yeah, what was the deal with that? And what was even he posted a quote about something about me not liking Will Fuller?
I'm not even sure what that was about. We tied one on, man. I'm still a little hungover from that Saturday. It was a good time.
What were you guys like crawling through little speakeasy trash cans into like cave bars underneath?
Yeah. I took them through all the things. You go through a phone booth and then it's like a little alley and then you come up and it's a barber shop and then finally get to the bar.
Jeez. And like you seem legitimately smashed like the next day. Like that was the most you drank in a long time.
Yeah. It was the most I drank. At one point, Daigle said, he goes, by the way, like my tolerance is insane. So just know that. And then, and I was like, that's fine. Don't worry about it. And then, yeah, it was,
what was he doing?
It's been rough.
In New York, Mr. Daigle, there's a global pandemic. He's traveling the United States of America. What is it? What's his deal?
Well, he was down. He's in Connecticut.
Okay, so he's not too far.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we do have our KFFSC draft. We've talked, if you guys have listened to a couple of the episodes that popped on the feed, including we talked with Farrell Elliott, the commissioner of the league. He enlightened me on a few of the rules I was not aware of about the league. Pat and I are excited, though, to draft in a format here where we can start 3 wide receivers and the competition is not able to start 4 running backs. They can only start 3 running backs max, which is going to be a really interesting thing. Obviously, ADP should reflect that, but people are so running back thirsty, Pat. Do you think we're going to actually be able to build kind of a smash squad and get our wide receiver targets? Or do you think the room is going to react to the settings accordingly?
I'm really torn on this. Eric's asking if it's full PPR. It is full PPR. It is not tight end premium, which is better for 0 running back, because then if you have the wide receiver firepower, people can't catch you at tight end. Although, of course, we do like Mark Andrews so much and George Kittle and Kelsey this year that we're kind of treating those guys in tight end premium like a wide receiver. So, but yeah, if you don't go the elite tight ends early, then tight end premium can sometimes hurt you if you did go wide receiver heavy early. I'm a little bit torn on whether or not we should pursue the 101 here, because if you end up with the 101, then you'll get a pretty decent wide receiver in round 3. But at the 212, but then at the 312, 401, you're potentially looking at your next 2 wide receivers. Now, if we could get like AJ Brown there and Calvin Ridley or something, that's still pretty nice.
I would guess based on that tier, I think we're below the Ridley AJ Brown tier, but I think you're firmly in the Chark, Sutton, McLaurin range at the 312, 401.
That's probably right.
So we could start. And guys, just to catch you up on this, we mentioned this and I pulled up this graphic here. So Pat and I are going to be doing a bid for our draft slot right before the draft. I believe a Zoom link is being sent around. Pat and I guess we need to get a little, our little thing here to bid. And they had a Cincinnati version of their main event. And these are the bid values here. And initially you might be like, well, why is 12 slot so popular? That is because of the 3rd round reversal. So a 12 slot would pick 112, 2-1, and 3-1. So that's why you see a little bit more of a premium here. But still, to Pat's point, if you're picking 101, you can grab Christian McCaffrey. At 212, you're still probably getting like a DJ Moore, Mike Evans type. And then you could come back and probably get 2 of DJ Chark, Terry McLaurin, and Cortland Sutton to start your draft there with a bell cow back and 3 elite wide receivers.
Yeah. Now, I think what jumps out to me here is that the first pick might be underpriced relative to the second and third pick, because I do think McCaffrey is worth paying up for, even compared to like Saquon, Zeke, Kamara. The fourth and fifth picks look maybe like this. If you look at the sixth pick, that pick has been super cheap. You can get that for $10. So, you know, the sixth pick, what could be like Dalvin Cook, right?
It's Dalvin Cook or Michael Thomas on our board.
Yeah. So if Michael Thomas goes and like Dalvin Cook or Kamara falls to you, then I think the sixth pick is still pretty nice. And Michael Thomas is obviously a really nice way to start off a 0 running back build. So the sixth pick actually looks like one of the better picks. You don't get any benefit from the third round reversal, but I don't really see the point in spending a ton of money to be right on the 12. Like, you know, the 9 spot's also benefiting from the third round reversal in a decent way. And you could just kind of punt to go with the 9. So I don't think I want to spend to get the 11th or 12th. I would maybe spend to get the 5th, because you only have to spend like 150. Only one person spent over $200 here. So that would at least lock up one of those running backs. And then after that, I think the 101 is probably the next best value.
Yeah, I think then the real tiers to look at is it does come down to, do you want to try to get an A.J. Brown or Calvin Ridley over those other wide receivers I mentioned at the 3-4 turn? Because I think that's ultimately the kind of trade-off you're making, is getting a wide receiver you prefer slightly more. What is your thoughts on that?
Say that again?
So if you get, if you are more in the middle or at the 12, like it puts you more in a position to get that next tier. So if we have like the Mike Evans, DJ Moore tier, and then you have like the Calvin Ridley, AJ Brown tier, and then you have the Terry McLaurin, DJ Chark, Cortland Sutton tier. So if you pick one, you're going to be priced out of that DJ or out of the AJ Brown, Calvin Ridley tier. Yeah. Whereas if you're at the 12 or you're picking in the middle, one of those guys is probably going to be available to you.
Yeah, that's an argument for going with the 5th to the 6th pick, I think, because in the third round, you're maybe even still looking at more in the mid third, maybe not, depending on how, you know, the tight end ADPs go and the running back ADPs go. But certainly, I think AJ Brown should be available at the 307.
Yeah.
I guess the 306. I don't know. I'm getting confused. Anyway, it would be there in the mid third.
Yeah. Yep. Henry Muto saying he did NFFC Saturday, which is the same settings except no third round reversal from the 6 hole. He started Thomas, Hopkins, Evans.
No, the NFFC has third round reversal.
He just said that at his league. Including. Sorry, I thought it said excluding. Okay, so that's really good information. That not only is Evans is getting pushed into that Ridley, AJ Brown tier as well, and then he's getting Woods in the 4th. I mean, that is just a killer 4 to start.
Yeah, that's great.
Team. And again, surprise, surprise, I have no issue going pure 0 running back in this format, but I think we do really have a tough decision of how we want to play it.
Yeah, we could let the room decide for us, frankly, and keep our budget. I mean, because if we do get the 6th pick, it looks like I just pulled up the NFFC ADP. So thanks to Henry Muto for that, because Michael Thomas is going at the 105 here, and then Dalvin Cook at the 106. So if you can get Cook at the 6th, you get that better third round pick. I think there's an advantage to that. Beyond just keeping the extra fab, I think there's an actual advantage to the 6th pick compared to the 2nd pick, let's say, because you get that better pick in the third round with the third round reversal.
Yeah. And just in general in drafts, I prefer having those middle round picks. It feels like you can catch values that are falling. Whereas whenever you're at a turn pick, one of those picks just always feels like you're reaching. And I know some people like it because they can lock in a stack or guarantee it or whatever. But in general, outside of the first round opportunity cost, I like picking at 6 or 7.
Dude, I'm looking at the NFFC ADP. They've got Juju Smith-Schuster down at 39, AJ Brown at 40, DJ Moore at 36. So, like, if you have the 101, you could potentially be looking at, like, doubling DJ Moore and Juju Smith-Schuster, or Juju Smith-Schuster and AJ Brown. I mean, that's pretty wild.
From the 101?
From the 101.
Yeah.
You could be, right? Because you'd get someone at the 212, and then you'd still get someone like DJ Moore, Smith Schuster, or AJ Brown falling to you at the end of the third, pick 36.
How is DJ Moore in a less wide receiver heavy format in the FFPC going 7 or 8 spots ahead of where he's going in this format?
I don't know. I don't think this can be right. I'm seeing Edwards-Hilaire's ADP is way too low. They may need to update this.
Yeah. I mean, and Henry's saying, yeah, these are the picks. You'd be 1, 24, 36, and 37. Right. I mean, I do feel pretty confident you're going to get 2 wide receivers you're happy with at 36, 37.
Yeah. Which would be a reason to just get McCaffrey, and then you don't have to worry about running back for a long, long time.
So, I know you, from our talks, I don't think you've worried too much about a portfolio or exposure. I mean, we only have a few of these high stakes teams. Part of me too, do you think that McCaffrey, I mean, based on these bid amounts, it's negligible, but from a portfolio perspective, we do have the 101 in our live main event online draft we have coming up on August 27th. So we're going to for sure get McCaffrey there. Do you think about balancing our exposure to these kind of backs, or are you okay going all in on McCaffrey?
I'm okay going all in on McCaffrey because it's basically impossible to truly go all in on him. I mean, we'd have 2 teams of all our teams where we have him.
Yeah.
His price almost forces you to, have a portfolio. So I think when you have a chance to get McCaffrey, I want to take him. What he did last year was, a real throwback to these truly elite fantasy running backs that we haven't seen in a long time. So he's a running back. I understand that him repeating that's probably not all that likely, but I just think he's the best pick. And you only get so many chances to get him. So you might as well take him when you have him.
Yeah. I think, after this conversation, I think I like the 1 pick. If the bidding gets wild, I do think the 6th pick is very interesting at that price point, because you are locking in Cook or Thomas, and you're in a nice spot throughout the rest of the draft.
What would your cap be? Because it looks like the bidding here was actually pretty tight, where the lowest that the 101 went for was 460. The highest it went for was 600. What would be your fab cap on the 101?
I mean, I guess it all seems so arbitrary, right? Like if you're willing to spend 600, like you're willing to spend 650 or 700. So I almost feel like we have to just commit to what slot we want. Like I don't know what would push me off it once we had our heart set on McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, I could say we won't go over 600.
All right, here comes Davis with the 601 bid, because we're on record not going over 600. Well, I will say Davis actually mentioned in our DM today, was saying that, I've, been saying over and over, this is going to be the best 0 RB year ever. Part of that thesis is going to mean there's going to be lots of good players to pick on the waiver wire. These bidding dollars could be very valuable, more so. Do I need to kind of include that in my thesis and want to protect as much fab money as I can?
I think there's a reason for doing that, because they're even, for teams like us that are going to be aggressive on the waiver wire, we're still going to need to put in bids at like 250 to get these running backs once they pop up. They're going to be popular by pretty much every team, because every team loves running backs. So, yeah, I think there is some opportunity cost to going to 600. I think, if you can get the 101, at the 460 like one of these teams did. That seems like pretty sweet. But, it's like McCaffrey and an extra, you double your fab budget, or Cook and you keep your whole fab budget and you get a better third round pick. I think there's a case for Cook.
One thing I will say is, looking at these numbers, I would bet that based on these bid amounts, that the 6th pick is going to be Michael Thomas a very, very large amount of the time, with the thought being that people who are going out of their way to bid, 10 times as much as they would for the 6th slot are trying to lock up a running back. I can't imagine that someone is willing to pay 15 times what they would to go ensure they get Michael Thomas. Do you agree with that?
I think that's probably right, but the NFFC ADP still has Thomas at 5, and Thomas is that like surefire receiver that I think people are.
I'm talking about the bidding numbers, because they're not bidding for those draft slots.
You're right. I get what you're saying. I guess I'm surprised there's such a gap between the 5 and the 6, but to your point, it must be that people are saying, no, I want to go get Dalvin Cook.
That's my gut instinct of why. If it was more a flat thing that was reflective of the thing, I think you could make a case, but I would guess that the 5-6 in this is like 90% Cook 5, maybe 10%. There's one Michael Thomas guy that wants to make sure he gets him and doesn't want to risk it at 7 or 6. So I do think we have to be okay with a true 0 RB build if we hoard the cash there with the 6th pick, which I am if we do go that direction.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. And I guess the question is really like, is there an advantage to going, like, where do we see the advantage in the 3rd round? Because I think part of it for me is that if I can trust these NFFC ADPs, I don't really have that many targets in the early 3rd compared to the late 3rd. Like a lot of my, maybe the mid to late 3rd, but there wouldn't be a huge advantage to me to being at the 11th or the 12th, because the guys going at like 24 through 29 aren't that much more appealing than the guys going a little later.
I agree with that completely. I mean, I think we're pretty locked into deciding between the 1 or the 6 slot.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. We won't belabor this too much. We know why you're all here. You guys want that listener league announcement reveal. Pat, I, of course, have my wheel. If you guys have tuned into a randomizer stream, you are familiar with this. And I have swapped it out with your names and Twitter handles. Look at this. I'll shuffle it up. Pure randomness just getting shuffled up. Pat, any final words here before we start finding our 11 league mates?
No, I'm excited for this. We got a ton of submissions. I really loved the reviews that you guys left. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, I hope some other people partnered up, because we'd like to get some more, as many people in the league as we actually can. But yeah, let's get these guys selected here.
All right, we're going to kick things off right here. Like I said, 11 names to join Pat and I in the listener league. Let's let it roll. Looks like we got. Ooh, is it going to go over?
Oh my God!
All right, Dan C. All right, Pat.
Dan C. He was asking when the draft was. Yeah, let me write this down here.
You write these down, and I'll remove them from the wheel as we go. Dan C. wondering when the draft is. We're gonna get it all squared away with Farrell, and then we'll let you guys know. We'll probably send an email.
Oh, no, I think Nick C. was the one asking about the draft.
Oh, oops, whatever. Dan C. Nick C. All right, Tupelo Tantrum. Congratulations, you are in the listener league. Let's keep it rolling. Oh, I'm nervous for you guys. Ooh, Perry Atkinson, Pear Bear 1. I believe I saw her Twitter profile and she was a hairstylist. And I was like, Perry, I would have let you in the listener league in exchange for a haircut had I known. Perry Atkinson, welcome to the listener league.
We have someone in the chat saying that he's in our main event and called Farrell. Does he qualify for the listener league?
I will just say that I really would have appreciated you letting us know that earlier. So actually, but that's not our draft. We're not in the Hong Kong Vegas. But he's in the main event competition.
Yeah.
Let's Ray, we got to stay tuned. I did not know that ahead of time, so I want to make sure we get our full draft. We'll talk to you after. All right, so we got 2. We got 9 more to go here. Big money, no whammies, says Harbs.
Oh, Ralph.
So Ralph was on Twitter earlier saying, what if I'm zoning out, not listening? Is this going to be posted? Well, Ralph, I hope you are not zoning out because you are now in the Listener League. Congratulations, Ralph. Pat, remind me how many I've done so I don't do too many here.
You have done 3.
3. All right. That means we have, I can't do math. What? How many more? 3 plus us is 4 minus 12. 8 more?
8 more. Oh my God. Wait, we have Chung. Chung is in the.
No, he's in here. He's saying did he earn an automatic berth? That you're good, Underwood. You are there. Shoot, who did I miss? You didn't miss anyone because you just got drawn, my friend. Welcome to the Listener League. I'm Bunderwood.
I think we should let Ray in because I was worried he didn't do the other stuff like draft a team with Rojo and leave a review. But he did. And then he called Farrell. So
okay.
I think we put Ray in.
All right, you deal with the wrath of the bubble boys.
He actually did follow the directions, and then he showed up on the stream and let us know. So I'm good. All
right, I'm gonna count on you to tell me when to stop spinning the wheel here. We are actually going to do a couple alternates just to make sure that everyone gets signed up and everything in there. So here we go. Let's keep this rolling. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go.
Eric
Frank Duffy.
Frank Duffy. All right.
All right. Mask wearing MF or at BLM. Frank Duffy. Congratulations. Boom. You are in the Listener League. How many are we up to, Pat?
I believe that makes 6.
Okay.
So I need to give me 1 second to put Frank in.
Yeah, sorry, Eric. That was a Price is Right style there, just hovering. Okay. All right, you got all the names down so far?
I got all the names.
Let's do it. Come on, big money. One time. Let me draft with these 0 RB fish. Kevin.
All right, Kevin.
FF Engineer. I swear to God, Kevin, if you are in this league and you do not draft exclusively Chargers players, then you are booted. You're always in the stream telling me to draft Keenan Allen and Hunter Henry. Now is your chance, Kevin. Nice job. Congrats.
Love it.
Kevin. All right, let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling. Indeed. Kevin is a randomizer legend. Always in these live stream streets. Ryan Hurley. Ryan M. Hurley.
Ryan Hurley. All right.
All right. How many is that, Pat?
That makes 8.
8. 4 more?
3 more, right?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Right. Not including us. 3 more. All right, guys. Ray. You got
Ray Chung. He's in anyway.
Oh, that's perfect.
All right.
Pat,
all right, Ray.
All right. Now, everyone, no one can be mad. Ray Chung earned it both ways.
Wow.
Congratulations,
Destined
Ray.
for the Listener League. Ray Chung.
There you go, Ray. Let the Vaughn guy in. Probably positive EV.
Yeah, is he in here? Is Dave in here?
I don't know. He always comes in at the last minute. There you go, Ray. Nice work.
Love it.
Harbs.
Harbs is in.
There you go, Harbs. Oh, look at this. I'm also getting breaking news. Perry, who made it into the Listener League, just sent me a tweet that says, if you're ever in the tri-state area, I got you for that.
Right.
I just scored. Guys, I haven't taken my hat off since I got my last haircut because it was that bad. Perry, I need you desperately. Okay. Harbs, congratulations. There you go. Sorry, Pat. Keep reminding me. How many more left?
Just 2 more left here.
2 more, guys. 2 more. All right. Let's do it. Let's do it. Who do we got? Who do we got? Joshua.
All right.
Joshua Bubbles. Nice work, Josh. All right, guys. We're getting down to the nitty gritty here. 2 more, Pat?
1 more. This is the last one, and I am noticing some there's some clustering based on when people submitted. So it was a good day to submit whatever day Kevin did.
Does the chat want to shuffle? Do you guys want to shuffle? Pat, can you just read off our listeners who have made it in so far?
Wait, hang on. Harb says, can't wait to draft Rojo before Pat. I'm not sure if Harb's actually left a review. I think maybe we should kick him out and get someone new.
Hey, guys. Read them off for me. And the people want to shuffle.
What am I reading off?
You're going to read off who's in so far.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
I'm giving it shuffles, guys. So many shuffles. Look at this. All right, Pat, tell me who's in, and then we'll do the final spin.
All right. Who is in so far? It is Ralph, Paul Meyer.
You made it. I think you just hopped in the chat late. You have already made it. There's one.
The first to submit, Ralph asked. Technically, it was Paul Bergeron, but also there was a Brian Davis who submitted a tweet without drafting Rojo or Visca. I thought it was very strange. He did submit in 2012, so it's possible he did not know about the requirements then.
Read the names. The chat is going to turn on us.
Sorry. Ralph, Brian Hurley, Harbs, Kevin, Joshua Bubbles, Underwood, Harry, Frank, and Dan C, and Ray Chung. That's it.
So that's 10. Pat and I are co-managing 11. That means we have 1 more. Everyone, big whammy. I'm going to do 10 more shuffles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's go. Please be that one listener I like and not the ones I hate.
All right, Paul Bergeron.
Bergeron.
The first person to submit. The very first.
Guys, congratulations on the Listener League. If you are bummed out of not getting in, you can join me on one of our mini randomizer streams. Maybe we'll do, Pat and I will do a special, we could do a couple best ball invitational drafts, maybe something on like Underdog or something like that. We can try to get some of these names in who didn't get to join us, because we do really appreciate all of you guys sending in the reviews and being so excited to join the Listener Leagues. Pat, dare I say, it was so humbling.
Very humbling.
It was very humbling.
I like that idea. And more drafts is always good.
Yeah, we have I think a month. The season is kicks off a month from tomorrow, and I promise you we are going to be doing a ton of drafts between now and then, and we will come up with some more opportunities to draft with you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you for hanging out. Like I said, Pat and I will be here Saturday night. Pat, I'm thinking about drinking on Saturday night for a draft.
We're drinking.
I'm going to be at my in-laws. So I'm going to have to, keep it a little more chill. But we will figure that out.
Is Davis coming on the stream, or are we bringing him on for a guest spot?
I think he is, because Davis is going to co-manage it with one of his buddies. So we'll see if we can get both of them on at some point. It'd be fun to watch them have to hash out a few of their picks on the stream.
Very fun. Very fun.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Harbs makes a great reminder. If you this is actually very important. We need to figure out some housekeeping for this.
Also, we might want to do the randomizer again, just for a couple alternates to this point.
Yes. Okay. We are realizing a thing. I feel bad, like it's such a tease to get someone an alternate, but let's do it. What Pat and I are going to do is we're going to set up a group DM after this with everyone in the league. Make sure we get your appropriate email and contact information to Farrell, and make sure we have the right people. But what do you think, Pat? Do we do two alternates right now?
Yeah, then we do 2 alternates, because as part of this, we've said a few times that we need you to go onto the KFFSC website and just create a username, and that will allow us to give this information to Farrell. We want to turn that around pretty quickly. I would say probably tomorrow we'll send over the information, ideally, because we'll need to contact everyone. But if someone doesn't get back to us with the name they used for the username, or didn't create a username at all and is just kind of slacking on the whole thing, then we'll just have to move on to an alternate, because we want to get this set up very quickly.
Yeah. And also I did want to, in our notes, Pat, Ryan had said to Josh that they would pair up if one of us gets in. So Josh and Ryan will be co-managing that team, thanks to those tweets. So another listener we were able to sneak in. Yeah, let's do two. We'll do two alternates here. I apologize if this
Was
feels
that the
like
right Ryan? I think there were two Ryans.
Yeah, that was Ryan Hurley.
Okay.
So Josh, we'll get you guys squared away. Josh, we'll get you in on those DM. Garrett Lorman, alternate number 1. Garrett Lorman. We'll do one more alternate here, guys. I mean, if you want, we could just all spin the wheel until every name is gone, just so we get the dopamine rush of spinning the wheel. Blank Ryan is our second alternate.
All right.
Actually, I don't even know when that plays. Are you able to hear the applause sound, Pat, or is that just
no?
Me
I can't hear anything.
All right.
Yeah, do you think there's a sound effect to us?
I didn't know if it was coming through with my mixer or whatever. It is not. For every time I spin, I hear the actual wheel sound effects and applause.
Oh no, that'd be sweet.
Sorry. Okay, guys, that is it. We will be back Saturday. Congrats to everyone who made it in the listener league. Ship chasing is just getting started. We are 4 months away from the start of the season. It is going to be a great 4 weeks. We will catch you guys next time on Ship Chasing.